Hi, everybody. It's Wayne Parham with the Lone Star Audiofest, and I'm here with a good friend of mine, Emiko Carlin, who has also joined up, and we've created THE Lone Star Audiofest. How you doing, Emiko?
I'm great, Wayne. How are you doing?
Pretty good, except for where I live. It's normally like 90 degrees in the summer. Yeah, it's over 100 now. It's like where I came from in Tulsa. It is hot.
Oof,
And you can't complain
that's
because I
rough.
know you Southern California people got it great.
We do, but I'm in Las Vegas right now where it's 158 degrees.
Oh my God, why?
Yeah. So I feel you. I feel you on this one.
And I feel
100%.
you
Yeah.
too, because I know that's even worse there. They gotta have the fun city, because if it wasn't a fun city, nobody'd be there.
Yeah. Even with the fun city, there's a lot of people that are going, maybe we're staying inside, you know?
Yeah, well, I get that. So tell me, this is all about Emiko.com. I want to know, well, your life story. Start off with, what it was like growing up, where you were, and what you like to do.
Oh my gosh. I grew up between Washington, D.C. and New York City, Manhattan, and I would go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Um, I was also spending a lot of time in Japan because I'm Japanese. And my mom, now I'm grateful for it, but at the time I was grumbling all the time. My mom made sure that I went to school in Japan when I wasn't going to school in America. So I never got a summer vacation. I never got any vacation really, um, other than like winter break, because I was constantly in school, and I was, yeah, and I went through all of that from the time I was about 4 years old up until high school,
Oh,
uh, and I went through the American system and the Japanese system,
oh my
and
God. So you were
just a lot of
working all the
traveling.
time as a little kid. You were just go, go, go.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no, and weekends and things, there was no like, oh, you can sleep in. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. My mom would come in and open the blinds and, all right, let's go. Let's go. And I remember just every morning waking up going, I would make this noise, right? I think which all kids used to make when their moms would come in, right? Um, and now I'm really grateful for it because I'm bilingual. I go back to Japan. I do a lot of work in Japan as well, and so being able to have that really unique experience, I don't know. I think it's a real blessing, and I think that I wish that there was a way to impart that knowledge on children, but like because my mom just kept saying to me, "Well, you'll understand when you're older, right?" And you don't know until you know. And so I spent a large part of my life grumbling and dragging my feet and protesting and probably kind of being a little difficult about it. And now I look back and I go, oh, I see the value in this, right? I see what's going on here. So yeah,
Well, so then as a kid,
that was kind of,
did you feel, of course, I hear what you're saying. As a kid, you don't want to do all this stuff, but do you feel connected to both cultures?
I do. I do very, very much so. And like, okay, so I'm a Gemini,
Okay.
which may mean something to some people and
Yeah.
not to others. But
The
Gemini is the
duo.
sign of the twins,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
right, typically it's supposed to be like the light side and the dark side, or the good and the naughty twin, or whatever. For me, it's the American side and the
Oh,
Japanese side, and
sure.
I firmly believe that because when I touched down in Japan, it's like I'm a different person. The tone of my voice changes, my mannerisms change, the way that I walk changes. Everything changes, not because I'm putting it on, but because there's this part of me that's been unlocked. And then when I'm back here, obviously I'm, well, I'm loud and in your face and whatever else I am, go 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 go. So it's a very different, it's two very different experiences, but both of them are equally me, and so I feel very connected actively to both of them. And it's I don't know, it's sometimes it can kind of wreak a little bit of havoc identity wise, but it's, you learn to manage that. pretty
I
well.
do understand that, but just vaguely. I mean, you obviously understand it intimately. It's who you are. I understand it because I've been around a lot of people of different cultures, and I'm always real interested. I was with a Ukrainian girl for quite a while. Some people that came to Lone Star know her,
Hmm.
and so I would go over there and I learned about their culture. I learned how, in fact, the language even, like here we don't have a words that are masculine, feminine, and neutral. There they
Right.
do. So
Right.
here,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
gender thing can be fluid. Over there, uh, 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 a a car would be, if it's machina, it's feminine. So the way the
Right.
word is sets its gender, and so I can
Hmm.
see,
Hmm.
and I don't know really anything about the Asian culture, but I get the perception that the Asians or the Japanese are proper and respectful, and we Americans are not
We
so much.
we can be. I mean, we can be, but man, there is I think we can be. We are perceived to be that way, and we generally we ride that, and we're proud of that. But make no mistake, like you hang out in Japan in certain parts and you run into some interesting characters also. Like there's some weird stuff over there that if most Americans saw what happens over there in Japan, they'd be like, "What is going on right now?" But by and large, yeah, that's true. We're known for being really clean, very respectful, much more quiet, I think, in some ways, and very what's the word? I guess ceremonious,
Okay, right.
for lack of a better term.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like those are the things that we're and efficient as well. Apparently, we're very efficient people, is what I've been told. So yeah.
Would you say you described some hooliganry that you would find the undercurrent? Do you think that's maybe because people usually are proper, and that's a way to kind of let their hair
Oh
down?
yes. Yeah. Oh yes.
Okay.
It's the pendulum swinging, right? The pendulum swings so far one way that when we let our hair down, we don't really just let it down. We shave it off and just throw it in the air, kind of a thing. Like it can be rough if you're not prepared for it, and it's like if it's your first time, especially in Tokyo, watching us party it's on another
It's
level.
scary, I'm
It's
guessing.
it's it's yeah, it's definitely something to take note of for sure.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that about you. I mean, I just I'm that's so interesting to me. So tell me how that affected you in your teenage years and your 20s, those formative years. Tell us about that part of Emiko.
Yeah. Um so the teenage years were really interesting because I think that it's bad enough being a teenager anywhere in the world,
Sure.
right? Like hormonal changes, mean girls, mean guys, trying to fit in with a group, finding a couple of good friends, whatever it may be. Um, Thinking that you know better than everybody else when you actually know
Of
nothing
course.
about the entire
Yeah.
world. Um, and then having to do it twice
Mhm.
and having to not just do it twice, but be parented in two different ways. Because my mom and dad, when they're here, they would parent me in the American way. And then when we would be over there, they would parent me in the Japanese way. And so it was you go through it twice, which was an interesting experience. And then in my 20s, it it turned from that into this very it was difficult, it was challenging, I would say, identity crisis,
Okay. Yeah.
because there's this perception, I think, in America, and a lot of half people have this. People that are mixed race will have this a lot. You can ask anybody, and most people that go back to their home countries will say similar things. It's like, I'm not American enough to be American, but I'm not Japanese enough to be Japanese. And so we live in this constant state of riding the line on both sides and sort of zigzagging and trying to fit in where you can fit in. And it's catch as catch can, right? Now a lot of that has changed now. So within the last 15 years, I can say that, maybe a little more than that, but I can say that both American culture and Japanese culture have become far more inclusive, egalitarian, um, much more accepting of this idea that, oh, that's cool that you're mixed. Oh, that's cool that you did both things. It used to be like, you got to pick one. And now it's like, don't pick, do them both. Do three of them if you want, do as many as you'd like. It's a buffet. So it's nice to, and I have a lot of friends that are also of the same ilk, whether they're Japanese or Korean or Chinese or, or Malaysian or whatever. And they're all saying the same thing, which is like, culturally, the world's view has shifted on it. And it's given us an opportunity now to actually kind of be out in the sunshine with it and feel good about it and now make sense of what we went through as kids. So it's cool.
Yeah, I get that. I've got 3 really good friends that are Black, and they describe a
Hmm.
similar thing. When you get close enough to know them, one of them is a young man. He's
Yeah.
from here in Bella Vista. One's a guy I knew for many, many years in Tulsa. We're still best friends. And another's a guy in Chicago. And all 3 of them, and
Mm.
particularly the one I knew best in Tulsa, would describe, when you're a successful Black man, not being racial, because I'm not. My parents raised me not to be, and now life experiences show me that too. But getting to know
Sure.
them,
Yeah.
a lot of times a Black guy is in a white man's world, and he'd be surrounded by a lot of powerful white men. And so he kind of would have a feeling of being a little bit apart from, even though everybody embraced him and he embraced them. But then when he'd go back to his
Yeah.
his his home, which was he didn't grow up wealthy, and then he'd feel like, oh well,
Mm.
some of these guys think I'm an Uncle Tom. Well, no, he's trying to be part of that culture too.
I
That's
see.
what they'd call him. That's an old American thing.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
I see what you're saying, and I suspect that's true for Indians, men from India, men and women from India. Interesting. That's so
I think
interesting,
it's I
Emiko.
think it's probably true for anybody. I mean, the same is true in the inverse, right? It's like, if you're half American and half something else and you're born and raised, in the other non-American country, I
Sure,
would imagine that they have the same thing, just
sure.
reversed. And I think that's, to a certain degree, that's I don't know if it's human nature or human nurture
Mhm.
in that sense. I don't know if it's environmental and circumstantial, or if it's just sort of, this is how we are at our most basic primal animalistic place. I would imagine that it's probably a little bit of both. Um, but it is nice to see that, at least in my experience, the world has become more open to it, and it's become more regular and ordinary. It's no longer a case of, well, what do you mean you're mixed? It's not like, oh, that's cool, yeah, me and so and so and so and so are mixed, and we're mixed 18 times. Like, it's just become this very regular thing, where now it's so regular that people talk about it the same way they talk about going to the store and getting a parking space. Like, it's so banal, and that's great. I'm saying that as a good thing, right? We want the world to be, I think, an accepting and welcoming place. So it's a good
I
thing.
agree with you. I think you're describing an experience, and a somewhat unique experience to have both of those things. So, but yeah, I find that super interesting, and I think that experience that you're talking about, that's rare. Only some have that, where you're from 2 cultures. But
Yeah.
by sharing that with me and others, I think that's an important experience, because then you bring the best of both cultures together, and I just think that's cool. So,
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's what the aim
yeah,
is, just generally.
yeah, definitely. So, but now what I want to hear about is, how did you start out as a musician? I'd like to know a lot about that part of your life.
Oh gosh.
That's a big one, I know.
I don't. Well, the truth is it's not a. I don't. I mean, okay, I don't consider it a very glamorous story, because it's the only thing I've ever known. So I started playing when I was 2 years. I was told. I mean, I kind of remember it. I was told I started playing when I was 2 years old. Um, my grandmother. Music has run in our family for generations. My great grandmother was a fairly accomplished violinist in Russia, or what was, I guess, part of the Ukraine, but then became whatever in the 1800s,
Sure.
right? And then my grandmother is a Juilliard graduate, was a composer, was a music educator, performer, all of these phenomenal things, at a time when women weren't really front and center doing that. And so um, she had that. I want to say it skipped a generation with my father, but it didn't really, because what he ended up getting was he ended up getting the creative writing gene. And so he's
Sure.
taken that and made it into, he's a published author. He has like 9 books out. It's a whole thing. Then I found out, going through my grandmother's old vinyl collection, which I now am in possession of with, my dad has vinyl out, which is so weird. He was his undergraduate class did a couple of recordings. He was in the men's choir, and they did a bunch of recordings, and they put out like 2 albums. So I have my dad on vinyl singing, which is really crazy.
It didn't skip a
Yeah,
generation. He's right there.
apparently it did not skip a generation at all. He was just very low key about the whole thing, focusing mainly on his writing and stuff. And so um that was just tremendous to find out. And my mom she's got a beautiful voice, and her side of the family is quite creative and entrepreneurial as well. And so I started playing when I was 2, and from what I was told, I wasn't playing like plunkety plunk plunk, like, like little kids play. Like, I guess I was busting out like folk songs, and at one point I busted out some sort of simplified version of Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite
Oh,
and
cool.
other things. And so it I guess my parents were told by a neighbor that they felt like I should get evaluated, for lack of a better term. So they took me to a conservatory prep, to get evaluated, and I was accepted there, and started, formal music education like right away. Um, and so I started learning piano, but at the same time I was learning Baroque harpsichord, which is really cool. Although at the time I did not entirely enjoy it, but I do enjoy it a lot now. So
Why did you not enjoy it?
they didn't
You gotta
really.
tell me that real fast.
Well, I think when you're 4 and 5 years
Okay.
old and somebody sits
Okay.
sits down and
Yeah.
tells you, play this thing for an
Yeah.
hour, you just go,
Okay.
I want to go outside and play in the dirt, right? Like, I want to eat ice cream. And they're like, no, 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 sit here and do
No,
this.
I get that
So
now. Yeah, it's the kid thing. I
yeah,
was wondering
yeah,
if
yeah,
it
yeah.
might have been. I'd heard that their keys were slightly different width or something.
The keys are different. In fact, they're inverted. So the black keys are the white keys, and the white keys are the black keys,
Oh.
which was a fun thing. So whenever I got to play harpsichord, it was great, because it was kind of like going on a field trip for me. It was like outside of the
Yeah.
norm. And the harpsichord doesn't have loud and soft.
The
It's not a
pianoforte.
hammer action instrument, right? So you have to accentuate and express on the harpsichord very differently, and
Oh,
that's done through a
sure,
series
because
of
it's always
trills
gonna
or held
plunk at the
notes,
same
or
volume.
right.
Oh.
Doesn't matter. You can hit it with a hammer or hit it with a feather. It's going to sound the same. It won't matter.
So what do
Yeah.
you do to emphasize?
So harpsichord music is written very differently for that reason. It typically, it'll be things like, you'll hold the note longer,
Speed. Yeah.
or right, it's speed, it's tying notes together, or making things very short and
Sure.
staccato. Um, Also ornaments, so like a lot of fast trills, moving bass is a big thing, so counter melodies, things like that, to help to compensate for the fact that there's no loud and soft. Now, to be fair though, like harpsichord came before
Yeah.
Cristofori's invention of the piano, and so because of that, there wasn't really a point of reference of like, oh, we have other keyboard instruments that play loudly and softly. It's like, not other than an organ, that wasn't really true. And so there wasn't so much a point of reference in that respect, but you could tell, like, as you go through the annals of music history, you can tell that people were getting a little bit not bored, but they wanted something something more. And so a lot of the Baroque composers would have to come up with new inventive ways to express themselves on the harpsichord, because it was a little bit of a limited instrument in that way.
Yeah, I
But it's
can
super
see
cool to
that.
play.
Does it?
It's a lot of fun.
Does a harpsichord, does it come out of tune easier than a piano?
I think some of it depends on how well you take care of one.
Okay.
Just generally speaking, I think that's true of any instrument, whether it's a guitar
Sure.
or a violin or whatever. That's a good question. I don't know, because I've always taken care of all my
Okay.
instruments fairly well, so I couldn't say offhand.
I always wondered that
I would,
because, since it's plucked instead of struck, it
right,
seems like
right.
it would be, it intuitively feels like that's a more violent event, but I could be completely wrong. I got to tell you this real quick. This is about you, not me, but I got to tell you, you and
Okay.
people like you are exactly why I don't touch a piano. When I was 10, my folks made me take piano lessons too till I think I was 17. So I took piano for 7 years and I got pretty good. Yeah, I
Nice.
could play,
Good.
like for Elise and that kind of level of stuff. But
Okay.
I listened to and still do. I like progressive rock, Yes and Genesis.
Nice.
Right. So
Heck yeah, man.
so the people that I looked up to were guys like Rick Wakeman and Keith Emerson.
Mhm.
And I thought to myself, man, I owe it to the world to not play piano. I could understand the synthesizer that came about when I was growing up. I could design
Sure.
a synthesizer. So, I had like a
Mhm.
Moog Liberation, and I was more interested in the electronics, and I thought, nope. When there's people like
Wait,
Emiko
you
Carlin that
had
can
the
play,
Liberation?
huh?
You had the Liberation? I'm trying to get my hands on one right now.
Yeah, I had a Liberation. Yeah. In 81, I got a Liberation. They were about $2,000 back then. So it was just affordable for me if I saved up my money, and it was cool. But it was monophonic, and I really wanted.
I'm gonna send you pictures of me playing the Liberation. I work with the Moog Foundation from time to time, and I did some like demo-y things for them at NAMM. And the Liberation is like, it's my whole heart. It's my whole heart. I love that thing so
And
much.
it does suit you. I could say, I can see you. I do want to see that video because I haven't had nearly the chance. I'd like to see more about your work. But yeah, I didn't mean to talk about me. I was really trying to say people like you are why I don't play.
Oh God, there's plenty of room. Wait, you should pick it up again. There's plenty of room for everybody.
I know there is.
Seriously, just pick
Way
it up
back
if you love
then,
it. Like, pick
I
it
was
up,
just
man.
too serious, but I did. I'd look at a Rick Wakeman, and I think I do not need to be playing. Guys like that should play. I can design the circuitry for him to play. So
Okay, I mean, which is also incredibly valuable. So I mean, fair. We do need guys to do that, and gals too. So like, fair
yeah,
enough.
that's a
Right?
better path
Like,
for me, I think. But yeah, I always wanted a Moog 1 because it was polyphonic, But that's
heck
a
yeah,
little more
yeah,
money.
yeah, and especially now too.
Yeah, I understand they still are making Moog 1s. What is it, about $10,000 or more?
It's more. Now it's more, and especially if you can get your hands on the original ones before Moog was acquired by their new parent company. Then you're talking something that's worth its weight in gold
Yeah,
at that point.
millions or quarter millions or something.
It's I don't know how much it is, but it's a lot of money. Like, you would have to take a step back and just go, am I willing to live in a shed to own this? Like, it's that conversation that you have. Am I willing to get divorced over this particular piece of gear?
Yeah.
It's that consideration.
Well, I could see that because then you're having a 50, 60-year-old antique, but I do understand they're making
Yeah.
new Moog ones.
Yeah, they are.
So that's cool. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to digress. Tell
Yeah.
tell me more
That's
about.
okay. I love that you played the Liberation. That's so cool.
Well, yeah, I thought it was cool too, but still, uh,
It's still cool, man. It's still
I
cool.
remember thinking this once I started getting a little older and partying and playing a little bit. I thought, now wait a minute, if that guy from the Cars plays the keyboard, I could
Oh,
do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
there's some
100%,
really
100%,
good
100%.
musicians that
I
play
get it.
simple music and
Yeah.
it's fun. I was
Right.
way too serious when I
Yeah.
was a
Oh,
kid.
absolutely.
But yeah, let's get back to you.
Fair
Tell us
enough.
about, so in that era when you were young. Uh, Tell us about your transitioning into your teenage years. I'm sure you were in bands, and then to your how it segued into your professional career.
Yeah, it was a weird. So, gosh, I'm trying to think. I feel old. I have to think further back now. It just a little bit further back now. I have to back up. Um, yeah, I mean, my parents really wanted me to stay in classical music. They wanted me to have a real footing in there, and they made sure of that. Whether I liked it or not was a different story, but they did it. And my grandmother also, being who she was, like it was sort of like this child's going into classical music, come hell or high water, that's it, there's no discussion, kind of a thing. And also, right, being a child of the 80s, it's like when you looked at the alternative of being in a rock band, the rock bands that were out at that time were like, right, Van Halen, Poison, White Lion, bad, I'll throw Bad English in there, White Snake, right, um Dokken, like all of these. You're talking about spandex and huge hair and day glow and hairspray and everything. And my parents did not want me joining that segment of the population to say, for various reasons, right, to say the least. And then I discovered Billy Joel,
Okay.
and Billy Joel changed my life. And I always say the effect that the Beatles had on Billy is the effect that Billy had on me. So there's a great interview. I can't remember, some sort of radio interview that he did many, many years ago. And he said, I remember sitting on the floor of our living room watching the one black and white TV that we had, and the Beatles came on, and I saw them and I heard them, and I just knew, I went, right, this is me. This is what I'm doing. And that was it. And I remember the first time I heard Billy Joel, and for that matter, I give the B-52s a lot of credit
Okay.
too, because they also had a supporting effect on that. I just went, right, okay, this is me. Great, good. There's an alternative to this classical music thing that I'm pretty good at. I'm doing good. I'm getting high marks in juries and being asked to perform for, dignitaries and the Secretary of Agriculture and Secretary of Transportation, all these things. Like big, big, big things. Cool. I'm gonna be over here doing this thing. Whatever this is, I'm doing it. Um, and it was a weird moment because my parents couldn't really argue, because Billy Joel was not 80s hair metal, right?
Right.
Like nowhere was there spandex or anything like that going on per se.
Class act in the
Um,
70s, he was. Yes.
yeah, and so um, I feel like that opened up a door. Plus, it was my instrument, right? Being able to watch somebody write and perform original music on the instrument that I was um, attached to opened up my entire life, opened up my entire world. And I went, oh, okay, I get it now. I understand why I've felt different, why I've always had not very many friends, why I've always looked at things differently and interpreted things differently and constantly journaling and writing and all these, like all of a sudden it made complete sense. And I went, right, I could be like this. That's so cool. There's a place for me now. Um, and then it was really hard to stop it. Like my parents, I think at first they tried to stop it, not because they were unsupportive. It's not that. It's because I think as a parent, when you want your child to grow up normal and healthy, right? We're both parents. So it's like you want the best for your kid. You don't necessarily think that it's going to involve some sort of activity that at the time was considered very much on the fringe of mainstream society, much less making a living at it, much less being a young woman at it, right? It's something that was very foreign to them.
Sure.
So it was a lot of raised voices in the household. And I give my dad a lot of credit. My dad was the first one who sort of broke down and was like, right, okay, okay, okay. Like, I can't stop it, right? I can't get on top of the tidal wave. So we're going to get under the tidal wave. We're just going to, okay. But that means, kiddo, you're going to continue going to your lessons. You're going to enroll in all of these music history, music theory. Like, you're going to double down. You're going to go big or go home. You're going to get a job doing this. You're going to start teaching music. You're going to start learning how to incorporate this into your entire life. You want this? This was the I caught you smoking, now smoke the entire pack of cigarettes thing, only with music. It was like, that's fine. I will buy you a computer. I will buy you a keyboard. I will get you a MIDI controller. I will do all of the things. Now go book some gigs. Now go do this. Now go do this, right? And that's fine. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And you're not going to complain, though. You're not going to complain that this is hard. And my mom sort of followed suit. She was a little bit more, again, culturally, right? Because in Japan, it was sort of like, your daughter does what now? She plays what? With who? It was a little bit harder to navigate an explanation, I think, societally. But now it's a very different story. So I played my first gig when I was like my first professional gig in a rock setting, because before that I was playing classically. And I sort of retired when I was 12 from classical music. My parents got me another teacher who was like, I had the best teacher for the first 7 or 8 years of my life. And then my second teacher, I adore her, but my second teacher, whom I just absolutely adore, and we're still in touch to this day, taught me how to live as a musician and taught me how to teach as well, and taught me how to accept differences. Yeah, it was great. We used to have these conversations all the time, and we used to get like really deep on the phone. And one time he said to me, he goes, I feel like I failed you as a teacher. And I said, no, you didn't. Why do you think that? He goes, because you didn't stick with classical or jazz music. And I said, no, but think about it. Like, a large part of my career I can give to you because you taught me how to be a musician in the world. You taught me how to also be a music educator.
Absolutely.
Which, when I was starting out, right, and I needed some cashola,
Sure.
like giving lessons and giving high level lessons was really great. And I said, if anything, I said, you succeeded more than most people. Like, that's something you should be proud of. Like, teaching people how to teach is a pretty big, it's teaching somebody how to fish, right? Don't just give me the fish, teach me how to fish, which is what he did. So, so that was the big kind of moment that I think a lot of us realized, like, oh, this can be, this can be a thing. And then I went on to, I was living in Manhattan, and the most valuable thing about living in Manhattan was being able to not be in Manhattan and just say that you lived there. So you'd have to have an address there, and then you would go on the road and tour, because then you could command all this money going across the country into, Idaho and Louisiana and, Wyoming and wherever, and telling people in Missouri and telling people like, oh, no, but they're a New York act. And people go, oh, great, amazing, And then we'd all go back to our studio apartments or our tiny little one bedrooms, do our laundry, fall asleep for 2 weeks, and then hit the road again. So it was a very, it was a time. It was a time. That's how I'll put it. It was a time.
Man, honestly, that's incredible. I've got good friends that are musicians in Tulsa, and I in a way I wish they had learned what you did to teach. Although Tulsa is a great town, love it, but everybody that's a musician, it's considered a hobby. It's a crime. I know some really good musicians, and you couldn't, you go to a bar and they play a set for 4 hours, and they don't get
Right.
anything in Tulsa. There's like one bar
Yeah.
I knew of that would pay a somewhat reasonable wage, but it was terrible. So
Mm,
those guys, the only way they could support themselves was have a regular day job. And
I
a
see. I
lot of them, they
see.
never would go like to Austin, which would be the nearest place to have a career.
Sure. Right. Great
And
music
none
town.
of my
Absolutely.
friends went to
Yeah.
LA. So anyway, to
Mm,
hear you say that you made your steady Eddie money teaching, and then
yeah.
you did gigs,
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
incredible. I love that.
It it gives people. I had a bass player for a while who was she had a PhD in musicology. I think it was musicology. Anyway, and one of the things that she said, we had these conversations with other bandmates, and she said, getting a PhD, it's not necessarily about using it. It's about using the skills that you have to have in order to achieve the PhD, which means being able to schedule, being able to keep your word, being able to do research, being able to build something from scratch, being able to think objectively and disruptively, being able to ask questions and listen, being able to work as a team with your research partners, being able to write, being able to follow through, being able to deliver. All of those things you need if you're going to be a recording artist anyway. So why not get a PhD, right? Or why not get a master's degree? Why not? Or if you're not going to get those things, why not have those skills anyway?
Have to,
And if that means through,
yeah.
through being able to teach or being able to support in some other way, it's like you're just putting more crayons in your coloring box at that point. Like the more skill you have, the better, right? It's this adage of like those who can do, those who can't teach, I think is a really bum rap. And I think that teachers now are very much like personal trainers and real estate agents. Everybody thinks they can get certified to do it, but most of them really suck at it, right? You find the few that are exceptional, and those are the ones that you glom onto. And I think that's very true in music education as well. It's just like you have to have the right, because being a teacher in music is not just sitting down and showing someone what to do. It's giving them the tools so they can do it themselves while you don't have to play a single note. And it's also advocating for them and championing them, right? And I mean, really doing that from the heart. And I think that's something that I learned from my teachers, and I'm able to carry that on now in my daily life and in my career.
Yeah, that's I hear you loudly. I think that is so important. But I think there's also another interesting aspect that I've learned over the last decade or so. Uh, I think one thing that hurts everybody, we can't help it, but everything tends to take on it becomes a scale-free network, and I know that's getting geeky techy, but it's all caused by this thing called preferential attachment. And all that really means is
Mm,
once you start getting popular, you get more and more popular. Has absolutely nothing to do
right.
with skill, talent level. It has much more to do with luck. Or some people will pay to appear to be popular, and then once they've done that, they get popular. So for all of us worker bees here, that haven't haven't gotten onto that place in the curve where you're exponentially rising, well, you gotta have
Mm.
something else like teaching or some other thing to kind of buttress that. So yeah, I always wondered, how is it that there are some musical acts that honestly they may be fun, but they actually kind of really suck. Sorry, pardon my French, but that would be huge, and then others that are fabulously talented and wonderful to listen to, and they, maybe aren't hitting the top 40. So anyway, that's
Yeah, I think some of it is that. I think some of it is also like it's all about not to sound hippy dippy, but there's a large part of it that has to do with um, mindset and setting out to accomplish something. And the people, there's the old adage, right? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. It's like if
yeah,
you
that's
listen to
good.
there have been no, like seriously, like there are bands that I've written for that do nothing but fight and have nothing but like cannot do lack attitudes. And guess what? They play clubs, they might get a little festival thing as an opener or this, that, and the other. And then there are artists that I've worked with that are phenomenal and are out there, and some of them have more talent than others. That's, I mean, yeah, sure, right? But the one thing that they share is this very settled, very calm uh place in their soul where they know that what they're doing is of service and of value to the people that are receiving it. And so the moment that it changes from a what can you do for me as the artist to what can I bring for
Sure.
you as the audience,
Absolutely.
that's, I think that's when that flips. And there's a lot of people in, not just in music, but I mean also in theater and in, you know, in other areas of the arts where they'll say it and there's a false altruism there, and there's a false sense of they don't really mean it, and they'll just say it until they think they're going to buy it, and they don't. You got to, if you don't work on yourself first here and here, it's not going to come out the same way here, you know. And people are going to know. So I think that has a lot to do with it also, is just we're so over we're so over inundated with this idea of like the millionaire mindset. It's like, I'm gonna go out and be rich, I'm gonna go out and be rich. It's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. What a value do you have that you're offering people? I don't know, but I'm gonna attract, I'm gonna attract wealth. Okay, but why? What is the value, right? What is it that people are going to pay money to you for to make you become that wealthy person? Oh, I don't know. Well, if you don't know, what are you offering them? Right? That's the thing. And so when you back up the mindset of it, you realize like, oh, some of these acts are not successful because they don't think that they're successful to begin with. They don't have that in them in that way.
Yeah.
And they could be the most talented people in the world. And then there are people that are, dumb as a rock that are out there making hand over fist silly money because people can relate to them, because people feel that parasocial connection, because people feel the genuineness of it, and they feel it in their heart too, and they mean it. And they may not have the most talent, but they've got the most
Yeah.
love, and they've got the most to offer and the most gratitude, right? Like that's fairly valuable, I
I
think.
think it's hugely valuable. I work on teams in the computer world, and I work with people, and I'll
Right.
take a guy that is a team player, a guy that's great to be around. He's not going to poison the team at all. He's your buddy.
Right.
I'll take
Yeah.
him any day
Yeah.
over the guy that's got massive skills, but he's very insecure and he
Right.
poisons the team. In
Right.
fact, that kind of person, I'd rather pay them to go work for the opposition because they'll poison the
Yeah, yeah.
opposition.
Go
Yeah.
home. Go home. Yeah. Exactly right.
But
Yeah. So that's I think that's what it personally, I mean, that's just my viewpoint. But
me too. And when you say that about musicians, I notice that very much. You can feel it off of them on stage.
yeah. Oh
There's
yeah.
one musician in
Yeah.
particular. I love his music. I got some of his albums. I'm not going to say names, but this guy, when he hits the stage, you can tell it
Hmm.
is all about him. He is such an
Hmm.
egomaniac. It just exudes out his
Hmm.
pores. So that for me, I'm like,
Hmm.
ew. Then there's a
Yeah.
couple of bands I know
Yeah.
that every time they're on stage, each and every member of that band gets respect from the others. You'll see them pointing at the
Yeah.
guy playing and
Yes.
really listening.
Yes.
And that shows
Yeah.
too. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. All of it is about
I
genuineness,
think you're right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. Tell me about so I think, tell me about like how that all turned into your career, what your career looks like now, and then soon let's segue into how you got into, the audio shows and that business.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Um So now I'm in a really, interesting. I'm going to say it this way because I feel it this way. I'm in a really interesting and unique place. I'm in a place where I know how lucky I am. Um, I am what they call a free agent, which means that I'm not with any of the big three, four labels, whatever is left and whatever is out there, Nike, Starbucks, Verizon, Warner, Gap Records or something. They're all merging and doing all of these things. No, I was with two of the majors for a while as a songwriter. and then one as a recording artist. And now I'm what they call, I guess, for lack of a better term, what they call a free agent. But it's cool because what that means is I get to put out my own music the way that I want. I get to tour and accept the shows that I want. I get to record the things that I want the way that I want. It also means that I have the time to put things out and have the messaging that I want, which is really important. And it also means that anything that I do, I get to take care of my people first. And that's really important to me. Being able to take care of my people first is so, so, so important, because I think when a lot of people see, if they see me working in the studio and they're like, oh, she's working on a film score, or she's prepping, we have a collector's edition vinyl release that just came out yesterday morning. And like, they see me talking about it, but they don't realize like there's like a whole group of people behind this that are, I'm just the head of the swan, right? There's like feet under the water going like this. Go on, move, swim. And so it's really important that I'm able to take care of my people first. And there were times when I couldn't do that, and it was rough because the certain opportunities are not always what they seem, they're not always what they seem to be, or they're not what they started out being, and they end up turning into something else. And so that's okay. No shade, no shame to it, but just that's what it was. And now I'm in this position where I get to write my own ticket. I get to be my own boss, which is really important to me. And it's not important to me from a sense of control. Actually, it's the opposite. It's the sense of liberation. There's that word, liberation. Um, and so now I have my third studio album called LA After the War just got released on vinyl. We have this collector's edition that came out yesterday. My first ever contemporary classical crossover solo piano album, which is an audiophile recording,
Wow, I
which is
gotta get
really
that.
cool. It was recorded by, that one is whew, I mean, all of my records are like my children, right? I love all of them equally, but that one was a huge departure for me. And the whole thing was improvised on the spot. Like, I went in with my assistant at the time, and she was like, so what's on the sheet to record today? And I went, I don't know. And she laughed, thinking I was joking. And I was like, no, I don't have I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I was utterly unprepared for the session. I had a series of titles that I wanted to base the works around, but I did not have any idea. I didn't know what piano I was going to be on. I didn't know where I was going to be recording. I had nothing. The engineer called the session, who happens to be an exhibitor with us at THE. He called the session. He got Steinway piano. And then said, and he didn't even quite, I think he kind of knew that something was up, because he didn't ask for a sheet or anything in advance. Like, he had no session notes in advance. And he was just like, great, what are we doing? And I went, let's go. And I just went, okay, if ever there was a moment to download information from the universe, it would be right now, And we have, it's 75 minutes of music. So it's going to be released on 2 vinyl albums. The CD will be 1 CD, but then the vinyl albums are 2, it's going to be 2. And it's just something that is, I'm so excited about. And then my 4th studio album, I'm currently in production for, with my producer, Grammy Award-winning guitarist, Larry Mitchell. And that album is called Life After Life. And that chronicles a lot of, right, all of my strokes that I've had, all of the things that have not killed me, thank goodness. And so that's something that we're working on. But these are things that I get to do, and I get to be in any genre I want. I get to license these to any film, any TV show that I want, any artist that I want that wants to come and record them, or re-record them, or any DJ that wants to remix them, right? I get to send these out into the world. I get to go to Asia on tour in November and perform a whole mix of these pieces, whether some of them are from Life After Life, or from my classical album, or from LA After the War. Like, it can be whatever it can be. And it's cool because there are so many artists that try to fit into a genre, that try to fit into a box, that try to fit into something. And I spent my whole life thinking that I was wrong for not fitting in. And now we live in a world where, especially the music industry, wants you to stand out. How are you going to stand out if all you do is fit in? Doesn't make any sense,
That
right?
needs to be a lyric
So
right
this is
there.
really but it's well, thanks, but it's true, right? It's like, how are you supposed to stand out if all you're going to do is fit in? Like, it doesn't make
I
sense.
love that.
So I just went, okay, I get to write this ticket. I'm going to write this ticket the way that I want. And I had 2 major label experiences and a couple of indie label experiences too, which showed me right away, like, if I get to write my own ticket one day, what's that going to look like, right? I got to live in this contrasting situation where I got to find out what works really well, what is terrible, what feels icky and gross, what things I shouldn't have compromised on that I did that I'm regretting, right? What things I didn't compromise on that I feel great about, and what things I could have let go of but I didn't, and what things I held on, like, you learn all of these things, and then one day you're you're given this moment, um and you get to kind of you get to plant your own garden, and so that's kind of what's happened, and I really love it because it gives me an opportunity to do so many things that I wouldn't necessarily otherwise be afforded the opportunity to do if I had stayed in the traditional system. Not to say that there aren't great value and perks to being in that. Of course, there are. But I think we live in a world now where we can all plant our flags and make our own spaces, and it works well.
So cool. Okay. Now that you said some of that, now I realize I got to back up a little bit. But first, before I do,
Okay.
where can everybody
Yeah.
get your albums?
So everything is available. I mean, obviously, for the people that stream, you can get it everywhere. I mean, you have to sort of live under a rock to not have access to it. I mean,
Sure.
it's everywhere.
Right.
It's on Apple Music, it's on Qobuz, it's on Tidal, it's on, I don't know if Rhapsody is still a thing. It's on Spotify.
Sure.
I mean, it's literally everywhere. Amazon Music, it's literally everywhere
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
world. Um,
What about the vinyl?
Physical
Yeah.
product. Yeah. So the vinyl, this is what's cool, is that there's the limited edition collector's edition that just came out yesterday. There's only 40 of them in the world. I know that 3 of them are already gone. And I didn't buy them, and neither did my family. These are people on the internet who have been following along in my journey for a while, and they nabbed them, and I'm so thrilled, and I'm so grateful. Those are available directly from my website, which is emikomusic.com, EMIKO music.com. If you go to the store, I think they're updating it, so it's going to be on the homepage in the next day, but if you go to the top right, like, it says shop, and you click that, then the whole shop is there. And you can get that. And then the regular vinyl, like the non-collector's edition, is coming, but we want to move the collector's edition first, which is just, Wayne, it's so pretty. There's a 10-page full color booklet with lyrics and liner notes. Like, remember what we used to
Yeah.
open
Oh, yeah.
when we were kids?
Yeah.
And we used to, like, and it has the new smell, and then you follow along with the
Yeah.
words, and, like, we're back to the experience, man. And that's something that's, like, so
Well,
exciting.
that's why I
So
asked, was to know. So now I know it's emikomusic.com, EMIKO
yes.
music.com. But see, I think I'm going to
Yeah.
edit that out so that I can go get mine before anybody else does.
Well, I am greatly appreciative for everybody that comes to support, because the fact is that you're supporting. I mean, and this is true of any live artist that you love, no matter how big or small they may be, right? It's like, to have that physical copy, it, even to somebody as big as a Taylor Swift or Ellie Goulding, or even like the Rolling Stones. Like, there are bands that are huge, that are mega, 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 and if you actually sit down and pause for a second, and you realize, like, how many albums they sign, right, for the collector's editions and things like that, they all take it to heart. Every single one of them. I've heard Mick Jagger talk about this countless times, and I've heard Taylor Swift talk about it too. Like, every single fan, every single follower means something to them. Ariana Grande says this a lot too. Again, whether you love the music or you don't like the music is not the point, right? The point is everybody that is worth their salt as an artist takes that to heart. So if you go, man, I don't need to buy that because, I'm sure 100 other people will buy it. Well, what if those 100 other people thought exactly the way you thought, right? Then nobody would buy it, and then your favorite artist would tank. But if we all show up a little bit, then the artist can keep showing up for us.
Absolutely.
And so I just want to say, like we're releasing 40, well, now it's 37 because that's what's left of this. And we're making it special. We're making it super special. And then the regular vinyl will be out, and then everybody can have that too. And it's coming out on CD as well. I don't remember when the CD is coming out. I know the pre-order is starting in the next month for the CD, but the collector's edition vinyl is just like, I saw it and I like lost my mind.
That's
It's so
cool.
pretty.
I love that.
It's so pretty.
I know. I want to cut this.
Yeah.
I want to go now so I can order it. That's very cool. Well, yeah. Back up a second though, because now I am kind of realizing you did the big labels, you did the indie labels, and then you figured you found your way to where you could be basically self-labeled, and so tell me about that experience, what it was like to be with the bigger labels and then the indies, and that how you went through that.
It's I was with Sony ATV as a writer for a while, way back when. And that was a wild experience for me because I also negotiated my own contract with them, which I don't recommend that anybody does, by the way. Please get an attorney. I was okay with it because of the nature of what they wanted me to do. Like, I was okay with it, and I knew my A&R rep really well, and so it was fine. But generally speaking, kids, don't try this at home. And what I learned, I feel bad saying it because being part of Sony was my dream. Billy Joel was a Columbia, CBS Columbia artist, which then fell under the Sony umbrella, right? And so in my quest to sort of be on that path, I wanted to be on the same label that he was on. It just meant so much to me. And so whether that was through a publishing deal or a record deal or whatever, like, I wanted it, and I took it when I had the opportunity, and it sucked the life out of me. It was not what I thought it was going to be. I was empty inside by the time our deal term kind of, concluded. I was clinically depressed. I hated writing music.
It was a corporate gig.
And it was a very corporate gig. We would get briefs on songs, and also we were doing some film and TV cues as well. So like, we would get songs, and then we would get things for motion picture, right? And we would get these things called briefs and work prints. So they would send over, especially for motion picture, they would send over whatever scenes or whatever it was with no music, no effects. And can I tell you how weird it is to see people like shooting machine guns silently? Like, because they haven't added anything to it yet, right? And then you see somebody like get shot like this, and there's no sound, there's no nothing. And it's so weird. It's like watching a silent movie. It's the weirdest thing. Like, the first time I ever experienced this, I was like, there's something wrong with it. And they were like, no, you have to add the stuff. And I went, oh, like, I was living that moment. And so I enjoyed that part of it, but like, it really became like, if I was writing songs, and I was also working on the side writing songs for other artists too. And it was like, producers would come to me, or managers would come to me and say, 3:30, 3:15, that's what we need. Radio, intro, verse 1, pre-chorus, chorus, verse 2, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, out, go. Like, it was so in the box. It was so manufactured. And I would write with a really good friend of mine who's a multi-platinum Grammy nominated producer he had a studio in Brooklyn. I would go over to his place and we'd have these big writing sessions all day, and we'd knock out like 3 and 4 songs a day. It was like a factory that we had. It was just go, 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 go. And because we were on deadlines. And I remember one time I was writing, he was in the control room putting up a session, and I was in the lavatory using the bathroom. And I was sitting there and I was texting him on my phone lyrics and like trying to sing into it from the
You can't
bathroom
even
while
stop
I'm
working
using
to
the
go to the
bathroom.
bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, like, people laugh about that now, and we sort of were like, whoo, you know. But yeah, when you're in the system like that, and also I know it's changed a lot also. So to be fair, like COVID and the last 10 years changed a lot of the songwriting industry. But when we were working in it, it was like, do you remember the old black and white film
Yeah,
Metropolis?
yeah, yeah.
Robots in the factory. It was Metropolis, man. We were living that. And it was like you were lucky to be signed as a writer. And you know, and like we weren't writing for you know, there's echelons, right? Like Diane Warren is obviously up here. She's written hits for every, you know, so on and so forth. And then you have sort of like the main stable writers. And so being in that group, it's like you're in Metropolis. You are a cog in the wheel.
Sure.
And you have to deliver. So when I went on the tour that I went on that winter, I remember I was sitting in the back of a car. We were going up to Sun Valley because we got this great contract gig with them on campus for like 2 weeks doing like après ski, and then we were in their in their dinner theater venue, whatever. And we loved Sun Valley, and my drummer was driving us from Boise all the way up, and he just looked at me and he sort of looked in the back and he's like, "You look miserable." And I just started crying, and the whole band was like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And I was like, "You don't understand it." In retrospect, it was not it was not my best moment, but it was definitely like, you don't understand what it's like to be signed to a major. I mean, it was probably the most ungrateful and ungracious thing I could have said, but there is a real truth in when you make the love of what you do into the craft of what you do, and when you are forced to leave it behind, maybe not forced by somebody else, but maybe you feel forced because you want to keep the gig, you want to keep going, right? You want to give it your all, and so you start to sort of strip away parts of yourself that's not healthy. So yeah, that was my experience there. I mean, everybody, don't get me wrong, everybody at Sony was very nice. Like, they were lovely people, and I'm still friends with quite a few of them today. But it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. But it's nice to hear things though. It's nice to see statements that, have things that we've written on them, and we're like, "Oh, that's nice. Thank you."
Yeah. Yeah. Every once
Yeah.
in a while, there's a diamond that comes out of it, I suspect. I know in tech, we're not like that. We don't, it's a different thing, but I know that I'll be excited about something about once a decade. It's not that I
Mm.
get to design what I think is the coolest thing all the time. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's get out and push. Sometimes it's, in fact, all the time it's make
Yeah.
what the customer needs. Every now
Yes.
and then there's an alignment
Yes.
where what the customer needs and what
Right.
excites me are the same.
Right.
So
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
see
That's
that being a
true. And
musician, it may
that's
be a much worse, much more difficult thing, because ultimately you're there to create art. And art isn't something you commission. I could see that's kind of like the people that have to
yeah.
write ad copy. You remember that movie, that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
series,
Yeah. Yeah.
Ad Men,
Exactly.
where they are Mad
No.
Men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's I mean, I was young. I was 24 when I got signed. 24, I think. Or maybe 25. Like, that's, it's You think 24, 25 is old enough to know better.
It's just starting, isn't it?
But you go up, you back up, right?
Yeah.
You don't know. Like, you're lucky you know how to tie your shoes at 25, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's and to go into a deal with a company that huge and be this one tiny, tiny, minuscule person that shows up on the first, like, I'm here, and they're like, yeah, who cares? Because they're too busy doing other things, not to be rude, but they're just too busy being this huge multinational corporation. And I'm just little old me, and it was a wake up call. I don't mind telling, it was a wake up call. Um, but I take a lot of what I learned there. I still live by a lot of what I learned there. Things to do, things not to do, everything in between, lessons that I learned, lessons that people tried to hide from me that I found out. It was a great proving ground, right? It was a great proving ground, and I'm really grateful that it's the first place, the first big place that I was at. I was like, all right, yeah.
It's so neat. So neat. Neat stuff. So now I want to hear what got you into the world of hi-fi, equipment and the shows. How did you get involved with THE?
Oh gosh. So THE came about in a very I don't know if I would call it's equal parts serendipitous and haphazard.
Of course.
I think is a fair, right? It's opposite sides of the same coin. I had just finished my last national tour. I'd taken the band on a huge cross country American tour, and on the way back we had all of these, just like the infrastructure of the band internally was crumbling. The bass player didn't like the drummer didn't like the bass player. Somebody threatened to leave somebody outside of Las Cruces, New Mexico, and like, we're gonna let the vultures eat you, and too bad for you. And like, it was just the tour, the front, the outbound leg was amazing. The return leg turned into, parts of it were really good, and then parts of it were really the tour from hell in that sense. And I got home, and the uh the bass player turned to the drummer. We all dropped each other off, and the bass player turned to the drummer and was like, I never want to see you again. And he picked up his stuff and left. And I remember getting home to an empty apartment in LA, and I just was like, oh, okay, I can finally go back to, I was producing this online TV show, this interview show for one of the keyboard companies that I endorse, that I absolutely adore. And I got an unexpected phone call from their organizational head, their US operations head, and they called me and they said, hey, we've had a very unexpected change, from a corporate structure standpoint. And so we have to cut your budget. And I went, okay, well, we've had budget cuts before. I'd been doing this at that point, I'd probably been doing that for about 5 or 6 years. So I was used to hearing your budget's being cut, your budget's being increased, it's being cut again, right? Like, that's fine. I said, okay, yeah, that's fine. We can make it work, whatever. Like, I got my crew, we're good. Like, how much? And he goes, 80%. And I went, oh, that's different. 80%.
Different.
80%. Okay. And I knew what that meant. What that meant was, we're letting you go, right? We're shutting this off. We're shutting this initiative down. We're letting you go, not as an artist, but as the producer and host of this thing that we're doing. And we don't have the heart to tell you that, because, we have this artist brand relationship that we want to keep intact. And Wayne, you know me pretty well. Like, I was hurt. I got mad and I was hurt, and I was very like, also because I said, well, when are we wrapping up? And he goes, 8 days. So he gave me 8 days notice and cut the budget by 80%. And he felt terrible. I mean, don't get me wrong. He felt terrible. He was just the messenger, right? It's not his fault. Just, these things happen. And I was sitting in my apartment alone. I just got off this tour.
You're in shock. You're in.
Shocked, right? I was shocked. I was, at the time, we were in full swing with this personal, right? This cross country personal thing that I was doing with my son and things that I don't have to get into here, but uh, it was like everything everywhere all at once just came crashing down on me. And I went, well, right, like I won't say that word out loud, but I was like, well,
Yeah.
and so I called our camera guy who had been on the road with us, who was the director of this online TV show that we were producing. And I said, man, this is what happened. Because I had to deliver him the news, right? And I was like, this is what happened. He goes, oh, crap. Okay. And then he had been hired by the show, which at the time was under previous leadership and previous ownership. And at the time, it was called the Home Entertainment Show, which is what everybody knew it as, right? It was the Home Entertainment. And he called me up about maybe a week or two later, and I'm biting my nails, panicking, going, what am I gonna do? And he called me up and goes, hey, I might have a gig for you. And I went, great, I'll take it. And he goes, don't you want to know what it is? And I went, no, just tell me where to be and I'll be there. And he said, well, it's this hi-fi show. And I went, what the hell's a hi-fi show? What are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, it's like NAMM. And I went, oh, okay, I like NAMM. I go to NAMM, I perform at NAMM. I know, okay. So I pictured this thing, right? I was like, I got it now. And he goes, yeah, so the dude that runs this thing wants, and he, also he didn't quite, he kind of got it all. Like, we're both kind of like, okay, sure, this sounds great. He said he wants us to film content. And I went, of what? Like, you just want like a pan of the whole trade show? And he goes, no. Apparently they have these rooms. They take over a hotel. They have these rooms where these audio systems go in. And I went, oh, it's not booths. It's actual, And then I started understanding. He goes, yeah, they want you to interview people. And I went, great, I can do that. No problem. So I met with their then marketing director, who consequently, no, I'm going to leave that out. I met with their marketing director and got hired and went to my first The Home Entertainment show back in 2018. And I put on my little, on-camera dress and my little heels, and I had my little microphone. And I walked in and I was asking everybody all these questions. And then that Saturday night, right, because the show opens Friday, and it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That Saturday night, I was made director of marketing.
Okay.
And and I was made director of marketing.
Wow.
So there was a major upheaval, like instantly.
That's wild, because you came in to, provide the services of interviewing and videoing, and the connection was good enough. Everything, there was some kismet there, and they just brought you into the show. That is cool.
It was meant to be a 4-month pickup gig contract. They were like, we want you to do some social media promotion leading up to the show. Then we want you to be on site and do the interviews, and you guys will edit it and post it and and then do a little bit of social media after the show to say thank you and the wrap up, and right, the usual things that how it used to be. And as I was talking to Maurice, the former owner, on site, he said to me, I really want to do things differently. Like, Richard Beers, the founder, had just passed away the year prior. They had this big cancellation. There was all of this major upheaval, and the show was they had to dig out from this avalanche of stuff that happened when Richard passed very suddenly and unexpectedly. And so he said, I really want to do things differently. And he goes, and I don't know everything, but I know enough to know what I don't know. And I don't know marketing and social media, and I know that you do. And I went, I'm not a marketing person. He goes, sure you are. You put on a national tour on your own. I've been to your Instagram and your Facebook page. I see all of these things that you're doing. I know your energy. I know these people will get excited. And I was like, yeah, I think that's because I'm wearing a mini dress. And he's like, no, you can show up in a trash bag and pajamas and sneakers. Like, it won't make a difference. Believe me. I didn't.
Yeah,
the next day. I still dressed up nice. But but the point is, right? So we embarked on this journey to make the show different, and there were some constraints along the way. COVID was a big
Yeah, I was
thing,
gonna
right?
say that. Yeah,
Like that was tricky. And then in 23, uh, I had an unexpected opportunity to purchase the show from him, which I did. Um, and so that's how I ended up here. Like, this was a 4 month. This was supposed to be a temporary 4 month pickup gig, and
it was a
now I
3-hour
own the
tour,
thing.
is what it was.
It
You
was
remember that the
yes,
Gilligan's
it
Island? It
was.
was a
It was
3-hour
absolutely
tour.
100%. Yep,
Man, that's cool. I
100%.
didn't know
So I
that part of your story, but I now see that. I mean, honestly, that had to be difficult. You had it for a year, then COVID kind of kills all our shows, and then you start
yeah,
back up in 23, and you kind of started up. That's a difficult deal because, at least for our show, now it's our show. We'll tell people about that in a second. But we were cruising along real good. Then COVID hits, and after COVID, everything has
right,
been a little different. I'm not sure
yeah,
exactly why. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's both
mm,
the effect that COVID had on the public, but I do think
yeah,
also, since part of that effect was people were going online even more than they were before. They were living
mm,
online. Social media was always growing,
yeah,
but I think it growed and then
yeah,
even took a plateau up there. So things
yeah,
just
yeah,
shifted
yeah,
around, and honestly, I'm really glad that you and I met when we did, because we met like maybe a
yeah.
year after that. Uh, tell everybody how you tell the story of how we met, because I think that's fun. You remember that?
You mean when we spoke by phone that first time?
Yeah, I emailed you
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Duke
Our
Lejeune.
shows were right. They were on the same
Yeah, I think
dates,
it
right?
was.
Was that right? They were overlapping,
Yep.
and I had known of Lone Star Audiofest before. I couldn't quite figure it out. Like, I knew what it was. I knew who you were, but I couldn't quite figure it out. And then I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. This is interesting. Um, and then, you go along your merry way, right? Life happens. And then one day you sent me an email. Right? Is that what you sent me an
I
email
did.
and said, "Hey, I'm so sorry, but our shows are on the same dates, and my friend Duke, da 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 da, went through this whole thing." And then something in my brain, right? Everybody that knows me knows this. It's like I'll get an idea, and it's touch paper on fire, like, instantly. And something just said, "Great, call him up. Just call him up. Just call him up." And I went, "I don't have his number." So I wrote to you and I said, "So funny that you're emailing me,
I
Wayne,
remember.
because, I would love to connect with you. I think there are some things that we could talk about. Let me know when you have a moment to speak." And then literally that same day we were on the
Yeah.
phone, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
it was fast. It was not like weeks of trying to play phone tag. I mean, it was like done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
It was
that.
pretty pretty
That's how
cool.
I saw it too. I did email you only because I realized, oh, we bumped into your show. We always were the first weekend in May. Then
Right.
we moved
Yeah.
it to June for I think maybe even just one show. COVID got in the way, so I think it was only
Yeah.
one show. So we moved it back to May, I think.
That's right.
And
Right.
and in doing so, we bumped into you. And I didn't mean to do that. That's rude. So I
No,
wrote to you,
no, it's
and I
all
wanted to make
it
sure that we scheduled ourselves to not do that. And then we both talked about just
right.
joining forces, which I think is fantastic. I've loved what we've done because, especially now, I mean, hearing all that you've done in the music industry, it's just neat. It's got a synergy. My little group, before you were involved, we were just always passionate companies. We're like you were talking about musicians.
Mhm.
We weren't there trying to make a ton of money. I mean, we wouldn't throw it away if we got it, but our main goal.
Right, right. No, 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 please, no.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
coming. I
right.
can't breathe. Our
Mhm.
main goal, though,
Right,
was
right.
always we're kind of, we'd all be kind of obsessive perfectionists of making something really great.
Yeah.
And a lot of us,
Yeah.
mostly, it started with companies that did that online. They made a product, they
Mm-hmm.
sold it, oftentimes kits, sometimes not. They had no dealer
Right.
network and they had no showroom. And so, you know, and that company was like, I have a company like that. You know, if people wanted to get my products, they either bought it sight unseen or they came to my house. So a lot
Right.
of us just
Yes.
decided way back in the early 2000s, let's just have a show. We just all meet at a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that means
Right.
is Lone Star Audiofest has always been the really passionate manufacturers. So now that we've
Yeah.
paired with you, a passionate musician, you know, we're all about this industry. And what I've been excited about is I see you also not just looking at the hi-fi guys, but also the pro sound guys, the audio,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
car audio guys. And now I see you're into the movie, the theater. It's cool
Oh,
stuff,
the film. Yeah.
Emiko.
The film festival stuff. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm really
Yeah.
excited. You know, and Texas is a weird market. It always has been a weird, but it's all I've known because I'm an Oklahoma boy. So this part of the
Mm,
country, you know,
sure. Sure.
The
Sure.
Southwest states are
Yeah.
my world, and there's people that love good equipment there, and there's some money here,
Yeah.
but
Oh yes. Oh
they are
yes.
hesitant to. You know, it's not like the LA crowd where you can get a bunch of people at an event. I mean, they will come out, but they're just a different bunch. So
Yeah, I think everywhere in the country has its own personality
yeah,
and has its own
yeah,
culture, right? And so that's something that we I think speak to. And I mean, this is one of the things that you and I discussed, right? Was I know that Lone Star Audio Fest used to be held in Dallas. And then when you and I were joining forces, I mean, I pushed you and I know
you
you got
did, you sure
I remember you there was a little bit you're like
did.
and I we struck the deal for the first year. I said, I'll give you the first weekend in May because that's what you wanted to go back to. I said, but we must bring the show to Austin because Austin is a music town. And from our perspective, when I took over THE and we changed from the home entertainment to total hi-fi experience, I said it once, I'll say it 100,000 times and a million times over plus one. Hi-fi for us is not just high fidelity audio components. High fidelity is a choice. It's a state of mind. It's a way of being. It's a way of life. It's how you show up for yourself. It's the food you put in your body. It's the music you listen to. It's your system. It's how you treat your family. It's where your kids go to school. It's how you go to church or temple or not go to church or temple or whatever it may be. Did you make a high fidelity choice today? That's what high fidelity is for us. And I'm going to keep saying this until people get it and they don't have to be told anymore. And so Austin, right, we talked about this, how Austin is not only good in terms of tech and in terms of hi-fi, but in terms of live music, and there's artists and there's creativity there that will go the long haul for us. Whereas, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Dallas, I love Houston, I love San Antonio. I mean, there's all sorts of places in Texas that are phenomenal and amazing. But Austin is known, right? It's keep Austin weird, right? That's
Yes,
their tagline.
that is true.
And I don't know that I would like I don't really want to be like keep THE weird. It's not that, but I know what they're saying. What they're saying is keep it human, keep it creative, keep it unique, keep it organic, keep it, as you're saying, passionate, real people. And I think in that respect, what we're doing by having the show move to Austin is we're serving that mission. We're serving that community. We're serving people that are like-minded that can jump on board and be like, yeah, I want to be part of that. That's cool. Right. This is how I live my life. Like this is how my neighbors live their lives. This is neat. Let's get on board with this and make it something bigger than just going from room to room to room, listening system to system to system, but make it about a full experience. So that's, I feel like that's something that we've been able to start working on. And I know there's more work to do, of course, but we took the initial steps and we can certainly talk about that.
You know, I think that's really
Being,
cool.
I
I
think,
heard you just now say you're equating high fidelity as high quality, or you
yeah,
know, and that is what it really means. That is exactly what it means. But
yeah,
it's neat how you've
yeah.
you've you've phrased that in a way that kind of means high quality in all aspects of life. That's neat. Uh,
I think it should be, because look, one of the first things that I told you about myself, right, is I'm a lurker. And a lot of people that know me know that I rarely will post in the forums that I'm in the groups that I'm in. I'll rarely post anything, because if I post anything, I'm asking for trouble, and I don't want no trouble with nobody. Because most of what I have to say goes against the grain. It's petting the shark in the opposite direction, you know? And and I learned that once at Sea. What was I at Sea? I can't remember where I was. I was somewhere, and the one of the fish handlers said to me, if you pet them this way, it feels slick and soft. But if you go that way, it's like tiny little knives stabbing you in the hand. And I went, yeah, you pet the shark the wrong way, and that's what happens. So I go on these forums because I'm a masochist. No, because in the forums and I have an immense amount of self-loathing. No, it's because that's where we can take the temperature of what the culture of hi-fi is presently, right, at any given moment. And the thing that, and I said this in an interview I did with Copper Magazine recently, that for years I've been watching this as a woman, as a younger, I'm not young, but as a younger person, I skew younger in the audiophile world, right? All that's being said is like, we need more young people, we need more women, we're aging out. Who's going to take over this hobby when we're gone? Who's going to take over these businesses when we're gone? But the thing is, they never, like, I watched this thread about females in audio, women in audio, and it was all dudes. They're just pontificating in an echo chamber. I'll say it again. They were pontificating in an echo chamber. Did I stutter? I didn't stutter. I didn't blink. I'm going to tell it like it is. And if they give me shade, they can give me shade. I don't care. Because it's got to be said. And this is the thing that I talked to Copper about, was like, so THE, again, this comes back to writing your own ticket. I thought, right, okay, I own this thing now. People want something different. Let's give them something different. Let's give them a film festival. Let's have, right, which we launched at our first ever THE Lone Star Audiofest, and SVS was our sponsor partner for that, which was amazing. And they did that in the SoCal show. And then Legacy Audio took over for the next year, for the next four, I think it was 4 shows, 3 or 4 shows. And now we have a new partner, potentially a new partner coming in. And so, like, let's win on a couple different levels, right? Let's give audiophiles and audio shows something new to experience. So home theater sound, their cinephiles have the same love the way that audiophiles do. Okay. And there are some audiophiles that are like, I'd like to go into multi-channel. I don't need to be 2-channel all the time. I mean, some of us are, some of us aren't. That's okay. Movie buffs. And then there are these filmmakers out there that want their films to be seen, that are creating the most incredible art. Because the other conversation that happens in these forums, that happen concurrently with where are the women, where are the young people, is there's no good music today. All the music today sucks. I wore out The Who Live at Leeds record again. I have 6 albums of Peter Frampton, Frampton Comes Alive, in case one of them melts or gets lost. It's like, okay, great. Let's give you something new. Let's give you something where you can discover new filmmakers, new animators, new music artists, new actors, new performers, let's bring this incredibly talented wealth of culture and creativity that is out there, that is seeking new audiences, with an audience that already exists, that most of them have some good money, right? That is seeking art. Look at what's happening. And the artists get it. They get it. And there's it's a growing number of manufacturers and dealers and distributors that are starting to understand, like, oh, this is how we get the young people and the women. And oh, okay, this is cool. We have gotten some pushback, right? We have gotten some, I don't see what the value of this is. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Because we still have the traditional audio show model going, right? We still have that. We're not taking that away. We're just adding to it. It's like you have a steak dinner and you don't want the sauteed mushrooms and you only want the asparagus. Okay, so just have the asparagus. Well, I'm mad that the mushrooms are even on the table. Well, yeah, but you got to eat dinner with other people, my friend. Like, you can't, if you don't want that, go eat by yourself over here. Like, that's fine. But you're in my restaurant. You eat with everybody. This is how this works. You don't like mushrooms? Don't eat the mushrooms. It's okay, you know? So I think that we've touched upon an opportunity, and this is why the word hi-fi, we're redefining it to mean this more holistic, complete definition, because we want people to feel that. We want people to the care that we take of our systems and of our components. If we put that care into our families, into our jobs, into our careers, into our community, you know how amazing the world would be if we were that exacting and that detailed and that careful and dedicated to creating and fostering and maintaining system perfection and balance and equilibrium at all time. And if we took that level of care and put it over here, what would happen? So we said, right, this is the word, total hi-fi experience. This is
I
everything.
love
So
that.
that's the long,
Yeah.
right? That's the long thing. But anyway,
Yeah. Total quality.
now they know, but now they know. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm glad that you could
exactly.
bring that to everyone's attention. That's a neat way to look at life. It's not just about one little tiny aspect. It's about the quality of life. And I think that's cool. I want to mention though, I want to
I
bring
hope
it
so.
back to Austin
Mhm.
because I did want to tell you
Yeah.
this way back. I started the show in Tulsa and we did it a couple of
Right.
years. What that was, there were a handful of people from like Kansas and Missouri, a
Hmm.
bunch from Texas and Oklahoma, and then as far as Arizona, I don't know if there was anybody from New Mexico, but we had that span
Hmm.
of people. And
Okay.
the biggest block, of course, was Texas. And there were a club. A lot of them were Dallas, but some were even like Houston.
Hmm.
But we just kind of kicked around stuff about where to move it. And one
Hmm.
man in particular, who was from Houston, actually was real
Hmm.
vocal about Dallas and some of the others too. I personally, at that time, was commuting to work. I was working at the IBM Research Lab, and there was an
Uh-huh.
Embassy Suites, like you could throw a rock and hit it. It was very close to the lab. The lab it's a
Yeah, yeah.
huge campus, man. It's huge. But I was thinking we should move there because Austin did have South by Southwest. It was a
Right.
music town.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Dallas was really, to my way of thinking, not. But we did, it was almost like unanimous. And I, being from Tulsa, thought, well, Dallas is half the drive, and I gotta, rent a
Sure.
van to get down there. So I kind of gave to that.
Right.
Now, here's what I've seen though. As we grew, naturally, we grew the Dallas clubs. So that's
Sure.
what we've
That
seen.
makes sense. Right.
It's not, you
Yeah.
know, I think everybody's resistant to change, even if change is
Yes.
good, and I think though that,
Especially if change is
well,
good,
maybe you're
because
right. You're right.
it means that people's old way of thinking was imperfect and they don't want to admit that, right? And I've been through that. I go through that on a daily basis. Like, it's, you know, but the sooner you can get out in front of it, the better it is, I think. Anyway,
Well,
go
sure.
on.
Yeah.
Sorry,
My,
I
my
cut you off.
point was this. We still have the Dallas club. Some of those folks come down to
Yeah.
Austin. I'm not sure why they all don't, because they're so close. But basically
Yeah.
we still have Dallas's attention. I do think a
Hmm.
lot of folks came to last year's show that were in the Austin Audio Club. There's a little club,
Yeah.
and they told me, they specifically said we really need more engagement there. They promised that they'd pass the
Yeah.
word at their
Absolutely.
meetings, but the bottom
Yeah.
line was,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like when we moved to Dallas and nobody knew about us at first, now we're needing to
Yeah.
engage with Austin. And then what you
Yes.
bring to the show
Absolutely, man.
too, my guys historically, as I told you, and I call them my guys because they're just the people that I'm used to dealing with, and they are
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
they make a specific component or a selection of components, and they do lament,
Okay.
like you said. They'll lament that the sky is falling sometimes, I can remember, this is so funny. I can remember people saying, vinyl is dying. Well, of course it is. When
Yeah.
CDs came out, it was a more convenient format. We can discuss
Right.
whether it's better or not, but it was more convenient and it just took off. But then, lo and behold, here we are 30 years
Yeah.
later and vinyl
Absolutely.
is soaring. So I can remember thinking,
Yeah.
guys,
Absolutely.
vinyl is not dead. It's just like reel to reel.
No.
It's
Yeah.
not convenient for this moment, but it's not
Right.
dead. And we've seen that.
Yeah.
So my guys,
Yeah.
they'll sometimes get scared about something that actually doesn't exist. Their business is fine. But to add to
Right.
that, I do love what you've brought to the show because it's I'm kind of promoting the idea that this stuff ain't going away. It's kind of a status
Right.
quo. Hi-fi has
Mm-hmm.
been around 100 years, but you're bringing
Mm-hmm.
a whole new bunch. You're saying, let's bring in the gals, let's bring in the younger ones. And they do.
Right.
I think it's not so much that hi-fi is different. I think they're congregating in a different place. Just like when we were kids,
Yeah.
we congregated at hanging out on the cruising Maine and hanging out on the streets, and maybe our parents didn't do that. Well, now they're all on social media, which
Right.
is, as you said, something that
Right.
you do.
Exactly.
So that's just my
Right.
little
Yeah.
diatribe on what I think. I love that you brought that to our combined show.
Thank you. I'm grateful. I am grateful because there's, as I said, there's I think it's hard sometimes for people in the, I don't know about maybe in the industry, but also in the community at large, to see a younger person who's female who comes from the music industry who wants the direction of the oldest show, the longest running show in America, to go forward in a way where our mission is to solidify the position of high fidelity audio for the next 100 years. And the way to do that is to include more
Sure.
people,
Yeah.
not to exclude more people.
Yeah.
And if you have that, conversation in an echo chamber, you will end up by default, right? Even if you don't mean to, by default, you will end up excluding people from this because you're not considering other people's wants and needs and desires. And I don't know how many billions of people are in the world presently, like on this planet as we speak, but I can guarantee you that it is a larger number than all shows across the globe reach combined. So given that that is the case, we are the minority, right? Hi-fi as a whole is the minority.
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah.
I think it is well worth us and valuable and important for us to look past the noses on our faces, mine included, right? To say, what is the conversation? And not just the conversation, what is the action that needs to be taken, that should be taken, that we can take, that we have a responsibility to take to create the path forward where people will naturally want to come in, not being dragged in kicking and screaming, not being dragged in because you got a girls get in free or bring your kid and you get a coupon, but something that genuinely, when you look at this on wherever you're seeing it, right? And your kid or your wife or your partner or your dad or your grandpa or whatever walks in the room, and they're like, oh, what's that? That's cool. Huh. Because there is a lot of stuff that families do enjoy together, couples enjoy together, friends enjoy together. And it's not because they got dragged kicking and screaming. It's because there was a common interest but that's because there was a common shared language. And this is the thing that I feel needs to get addressed. And so we are actively addressing it. And as I said to people at the SoCal 2026 show just 2 months ago, I said, we hope that we succeed at this. We might fail. We might fall flat on our faces with these new initiatives, right? With the film festival and the music festival that we have. But you know what? I don't see anybody else doing it different.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't.
cool. If that,
So
yeah, if
it,
you'll find out. If nothing else, you're doing something that's
yeah,
different. Nobody else can see it anywhere else. That is
right.
cool. I think to
Right.
me,
Right.
I like that. I like that. But I think to me, what I also like, what I find is our draw is people are able to come in, spend some time with the designers, talk to them. They can
Yes.
actually
Yes.
see and hear. You know, at Lone Star, what I've
Right.
always noticed is a guest will come in and spend 30 minutes at a room or at a booth. They'll spend an
Yes.
eternity, and they'll come back 2 or 3 times. They're really getting to
Yeah.
know the either the dealer, if it's a dealer, or the engineer, if it's a manufacturer. They're getting to know them, and they're actually getting to
Yeah.
hear and see it. When I see the women,
There's
to,
a
to bring you the point of the women, when I see the women, some of
sure.
them are coming just because their husbands wanted to go, and so that's their double
Sure.
date, and she's not as interested in it as he is. Others,
Mm,
the wife is just as engaged. Her girlfriend, she's really engaged. She's right there sitting
right.
with her husband, and
Yeah.
she's paying
Yes.
attention. She's
Leading the
enjoying it.
charge. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and so
I
that
think
kind of
the
person
thing.
we want to attract. The others, if someone's coming just because they're
Yeah.
with their spouse, awesome. You know, please feel welcome.
Yeah.
But the ones that are
Absolutely.
really there because they're interested in the equipment and or the show, I think we do bring something. For one thing, like you play at the events, you as a musician play. That is valuable. And then again, as I said, they can visit with the everybody in each of the rooms, and I think that's cool. I have heard multiple people, and whether it's an echo chamber or not, I don't know. It's what I listen to, but reviewers like oh Matthew Philpott, the Everyday Audiophile, and others like
Hmm.
him, they'll talk about what's different about our show is that it's an intimate thing, which I do think, I
Yeah.
do think that everybody likes, women and the younger audiophiles. They like
Yeah.
that it's intimate. They aren't just coming in and looking at a booth and going to the next one, and there's too much to take in. No, this one they're engaged, and I think that's the key thing. It's
Yeah.
kind of goes to your point of the high fidelity or high quality. It's more of a high engagement. I love that. We have a high
It,
engagement.
it it is, and it's a high fidelity
Yeah.
experience. I mean, I think like
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
sure, you can get a really fun experience from a rave. You can be in a warehouse with
Yeah.
6,000 other
Yeah.
people tripping with day glow, this, that, and the other, and paint on your face, and people throwing cakes at each other or whatever, and the DJ's up there doing his thing. And that's one type of experience. But you don't have a front row area. You're not in the front row. You're not even in the first 10 rows at that point.
You're not paying
And so
attention,
this
really.
idea, I'll say. Right. I'll say two things to your point because I love it. One is that there was a reviewer that came not this past June or May, June, but the first one that we did in May
2025.
of 25.
25. Yeah.
Yeah. Um and he said the sweetest thing. He made this beautiful video and he said the sweetest thing. He said, the thing that I love about this show was that this was the one show, and he said this about THU too, but he was like, this was the show where I came in, every room played what I wanted to hear, and they wanted to show me what my songs would be like when they come to life. Most of the time, you go to a larger show, and it's like, I'm going to play these songs because this will show you what the system's performance
Right.
is. I'm not going to listen to that when I go home. Why am I going to give you money for this? I want to listen to my music. I want to listen to what I love. I want to enjoy it. I want to internalize it, right? And so like we give them that experience. And this idea that like bigger is always better and smaller sucks. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody can just throw that out the window. That is garbage. Because if that was the case, everybody would be eating at Applebee's. Everybody would be shopping at Best Buy. Everybody would be wearing clothes from Target. And again, no shade to them, but just why is it that finding an intimate, independently owned restaurant where you can take a group of friends and get to know the owner and the food is handmade and it's fresh and you're supporting small business, why is that amazing? But that same thing lifted and put it in a hi-fi show and it's crap. It's not crap. It's the same thing. Get a front row seat. Get one of the first 3 or 4 rows in every room. In every room, you're a VIP. Wouldn't you want that?
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, if you're going to make that kind of a spend, wouldn't you want that? I certainly would. I don't want to be stuck in the back in a sweaty room that smells kind of like gym socks with, 70 other people that are kind of there for 5 minutes, and then like I don't. That's not my music consumption, music listening experience. So like, why would I? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It seems silly. So this idea that bigger is better, and sure, bigger is great. Don't get me wrong. Big, huge, amazing things, but also something intimate, something exclusive, something where you're the star VIP in every aspect of the experience. That's also something that's really cool and should not be overlooked, and should not be, I don't think it not only shouldn't be discounted, it shouldn't be devalued. I think it has inherent value in its own right, and that's something that needs to be discussed and put out front, as far as I'm concerned. And I think we do that really well, and I know that our 25 show nailed
I
it,
did.
like bullseye.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%.
Really, truly.
That is exactly what Lone Star has always been about. That is evidently also what THE has always been about. So naturally, that's what THE LSAF is always about. It's about quality. It is about fidelity. It's I love that. That's neat. Well, Emiko.
Well, and think about.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, think about this too. The word fidelity. If you take away high fidelity and just use the word fidelity, right? When somebody, let's talk about relationships. When somebody cheats on somebody else, that's infidelity.
Yes, right.
You're devaluing the connection, right? You're devaluing that. You're going outside of that, going against the grain of that commitment of that relationship. So if we're going to have a high fidelity relationship with our attendees, with our members of the valued press, with our exhibitors, with our manufacturers, designers, distributors, dealers, with the community at large, it has to be a one-to-one connective experience. It has to be getting on the same level, meeting people where they are, and feeling great about that. Not just like, oh yeah, I'll show up to it, but like really loving it, And I think this is where being able to have a show of the Austin size that we have allows us that bandwidth to be available to everybody and give people that sort of that white glove service that we want to, that we always aim for. And I think that's, I don't know. I just think that's fidelity, right? As opposed to infidelity. That's fidelity.
I'm so with you. I love the way you said that, and I like your analogy of the white glove service. I mean, that is what we give. That's what we want to do. That's what we do is to make it a high quality, high fidelity, intimate affair. That's neat.
Yeah.
Well, Emiko, I am so glad that we got this chance to visit. It's I'm really also so glad that we met and are able to do this together. And
likewise.
And I'm glad everybody got to see more about you. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm just happy, Wayne, if I may, from my heart to your heart. First of all, I'm grateful for you and to you. I love you, my dear friend. I love Kelly. I love your family. I love what you're all about. I'm so delighted that you're doing these interviews this way. I'm so happy that you started the YouTube channel for Lone Star. I'm so happy that you're getting more into it, because when we met, it was like, I don't do that. You can do that. I don't do that. And now you're doing it, and you've taken the bull by the horns, and I want to recognize you and appreciate you for that. And I love that. And I can't wait to see more of these, because I feel like you really bring your own personality to it. And I think that's just, I think it's great.
Well, thank you so much for saying
I'm happy that you did this.
Thank you. I was gonna into here, but I got to tell you this about that. See, what's really going on is when I started this show, it was exactly like this, but you know, back then message boards were everything. There wasn't social
Right.
media. And I'm still really
Right.
active on some message boards, but they have been eclipsed by social media. Everybody's there. And for a lot of reasons that I won't describe, it's not important, but I don't do social media. But YouTube, which is kind of a social media, but it's moderated a little better. I don't see it doing some of the stuff that I see in other platforms. So I wasn't opposed to it. And I wanted to get out and help. I wanted to get out and push but yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I kind of love what we're doing, man. It's a good thing.
It's
It is
cool.
cool.
It is. It's cool. It's very cool. I dig it.
All right.
So get on the train, everybody. Get on the bus or whatever.
Yep.
Get on the bandwagon, right? However you say it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm eager to see you. Well, we'll see each other a whole lot before then, but I'm eager to see you in May of 2027 at the next Lone Star.
Are we 27 already? Oh my God.
I know, man. These numbers are getting weird, aren't they?
It's my back, my hips, and my knees are telling me that 2027 is almost upon us.
Yeah, I know. It's like
creaking and cracking, and
it seemed like just yesterday it was 1987. We thought Y2K'd never get here. It was way off in the future. Now,
yep, it's come and gone.
It's come and gone. Well, anyway, it was so good to visit with you, and
likewise.
I look forward to seeing you again.
Likewise, and absolutely. I will talk to you soon.
Okay.